Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us on more Crime and Sports. We have a very fun episode this week.
Oh, terrific.
A brain-damaged man in a brain-damaged sport, and a guy who did something absolutely terrible. So it'll be very fun. Won't be our longest show. Here. No, because a lot of when someone's not immensely famous, it's very hard to find a lot of details because no one bothers to document them. So, you know what I mean? So
it won't sell papers, friend.
It's one of those, but then what he does is like, whoa, that was a lot. So it's crazy. We'll get into it. First of all, though, little business at the top here. Listen to Your Stupid Opinions. It's out right now, all major platforms and everything.
Yeah.
Some people said if you search for it, sometimes you can't find it because it's new. So you search for one of our names, you'll be able to find it. It'll come up. Don't worry about it.
I assure you it's there.
We assure
you. You guys
you.
Supporting it. You're crushing it. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, we debuted real high and on the charts, and we appreciate that so much. So thank you for listening to that. Also, I'll listen to Small Town Murder while you're at it, obviously. And get your tickets for the virtual live show for Small Town Murder, October 26th, our Halloween spectacular.
Hell yeah.
We're going to dress up, and it'll be available for a week after the 26th as well, all through Halloween. You can watch as many times you want. Do whatever you want with it, just like a regular live show. But in your living room or your yard or your roof or your weird little chamber you have in the basement, whatever you got going on, you can watch it there. I assure you, if you have
girl's man cave, whatever that is.
If you have Wi-Fi, shutupandgivememurder.com/virtual live, and also shutupandgivememurder.com for regular live shows. Dallas, December 2nd. Get your tickets for that. Patreon.com/Crime in Sports is where you get all the bonus material.
Yeah.
Anybody $5 a month or above, a mere cup of coffee, everyone. One cup of coffee out of 30 or 31, depending on the month. You know what? There you go. It's the 31 month. Just chop that cup of coffee off, spend it on Patreon, and you'll get tons of stuff. A couple hundred back episodes of bonus material to binge on. New ones every other week. This week is no different. This week, what we have for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about Pros versus Joes.
Great.
The TV show that thought it was a good idea to pit very recently retired top-tier pro athletes against your UPS guy and see how it turned out. And it turns out about how you'd think it would, with a lot of hurt, injured UPS guys laying all over the turf. So that's a lot of fun.
A lot of workman's comp being filed.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk all about that. And then for Small Town Murder, we will talk about, which you'll also have access to, we'll talk about Sarah Boone, who is the alleged suitcase killer, they've been calling her, zipping her boyfriend up in a suitcase and being like, it's a game. We do it all the time. The interrogation is one of the funniest things ever, and we'll talk all about it. The cops are the cops are dumber than her in the interrogation. It's amazing. I got to tell you, it's good stuff. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports is where you get all of that, and you'll get a shout out at the end of the show. Jimmie will certainly mispronounce your name. While he would love to get it correct, he will not.
Yeah?
So there we go. That said, let's get into this here with a fella. Okay. His name is Charles Donnelly Williams. Donnelly's the middle name.
Chuck Williams.
Chuck Williams. Old Charles Williams. Now, Charles Williams is a very common name, which also makes it difficult when you're trying to find stuff on somebody.
It may have been covered all over the internet, James. You can't find it because his name is Charles fucking Williams.
Yeah, my poor cousin searching down Charles Williams is here all over the planet for this. Feel bad. So it's Charles Donnelly Williams. He's a wrestler. So it's a wrestling episode, which we all know are fun, and better known as the Rockin Rebel is what he went as. Do you know who he is by any chance? ECW?
Don't I? Yeah.
If you unless you watched ECW, probably not.
No? No guitar?
No, not that. You're thinking of Van Hammer in WCW, which is a totally different guy. A terrible wrestler, mind you, but at least a guy who looked like a wrestler anyway.
Yeah.
But Charles Williams, he looked like a wrestler too, but not very good. Charles Williams isn't a guy that Rockin Rebel, we'll call him from now on.
Either name is awful.
It's bad, but Rockin Rebel is bad, and he's not even the only Rockin Rebel. So we'll talk about that. There's more of those. Yes, that's the other problem too. There's another wrestler who's going by Rockin Rebel. So if you're looking that up, you're getting this guy's shit. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. Well, this guy.
Did this guy wear like a Southern flag undies?
No. That was
not even that Rebel.
Not Dick Slater of the '80s in WWF, who was the Rebel Dick Slater.
There you go.
And they had him as a baby face in New York. Like I remember being like, he'd come out with like a Confederate flag and everything, and I was like,
root for that guy.
Why am I cheering for? I don't want to cheer for this guy. That's why it didn't work.
Yeah, well, it's because the Dukes of Hazzard was such a big deal.
Yeah, but they had it on their car, and they were like, they were good guys. They were doing I mean, I know they were criminals and everything, but Boss Hogg was corrupt, and there was a whole separate thing going on there, whereas this guy was just some new guy who was like, look at me, I'm pro-Confederacy, which was just a weird, it was just an odd angle to take as a baby face in the 80s. It was just strange.
It's also just a weird angle to take it all and embrace that. It's just bizarre.
The Freebirds did it too.
Yeah.
They did. When they came up in 84, they came up to Madison's. We're getting deep into wrestling here, but
yeah, we are.
In 84, they came up to WWF for like a month, and then they got fired, but they were there for like a month as baby faces, and Michael Hayes had the giant fucking Confederate flag robe, you know what I mean? The big cape with the Confederate flag. And I was like, what is you're in Philadelphia. What's happening right now? There's a show, I watched a show on YouTube from like August of 84 from the Spectrum, and there people are going, I'm like, what is happening? They're cheering.
Why would you bring that here?
What is going on right now? I don't get it. So it's a strange thing. But no, his is more like Billy Idol Rebel. You know what I mean?
Rebel
like
Yell.
He's going for that, which is also a Confederacy thing.
Pretty badass, yeah.
Anyway, Charles Williams, born January 13th, 1966, born in Montgomery, Alabama. So maybe that's part of it, too, the Rebel thing.
There's the Rebel stuff, yeah.
But that wasn't really part of his gimmick. It was more, he didn't really have a gimmick. He was just a guy. That's the thing. His name was the Rockin Rebel, but he'd just be like this kind of lame guy who wasn't very big and didn't have a lot of charisma, wasn't a great worker.
Just wearing a singlet.
Yeah, just didn't have any of the things. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm part of this too.
You got to be a great promo or a great worker or have a great gimmick. It'd be great to have all those together.
Sure, yeah.
But I mean, as one of two of those, you can put something together. Whereas this guy didn't really have anything. He was just he's an indie wrestler, and you can see why it never really went beyond that anyway. So we'll talk about him. He wrestles a couple other names too. The weird part is that I don't understand. Normally, okay, here's how it works. If you're a wrestler and you're going to do, back in the day, you'd go to do jobs, which would mean you're going to, people who aren't aware, you'd go to like WWF or WCW at the time to go on their TV on Saturday mornings and get beat up by a star.
Just good. Yep.
You're a jobber. That's what you're going there for. It's your job to make this guy look good so he can further his, run. So normally when people do that, they will do that under like some name that's not
shitty
associated with them. Mick Foley did his as Jack Foley back in the 80s. Like he went under that name because that's not a name he wrestled under anywhere else. Because it looks bad otherwise. You don't want to be.
Yeah.
So this
it's just beaten all the time.
Yeah, this guy, for some reason, goes by a gimmick name all over the place. And we're talking gimmicks names like the Dark Ninja, Mr. X, he goes by it some. So not real great gimmick names, but then when he jobs in WWF and WCW, he goes by his actual given birth name, Charles Williams, which is the weirdest fucking backwards thing I've never heard of before. It's so strange to do that.
Dressed and looking the exact same?
He's wearing his gear. I mean, those are his tights that he has. He's not going to, this isn't a guy who's going to, he's not really investing much in his ring attire, this guy. He's not one of these guys. He's not a guy who really plans that much. So, and I recommend, by the way, because ECW is a lot like this, I do recommend that you watch is it Netflix, the series?
On Wrestler?
The Wrestlers. Was it called Wrestlers, I think?
It's called Wrestlers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I definitely recommend the shit out of that. It's great. You don't have to like wrestling. You will when you're done with it. You'll be interested, more interested at least in the guys. But it's the hard knocks of wrestling is the best way to describe it. It's the same way.
Brace yourself. You're about to have your eyes wide the fuck open about how this industry works. It's really wild.
And also you go, wow, everything is even more like comedy than I thought it was when you watch that too. It's the same exact thing. It's 37-year-old guys who aren't going to make it in a shitty 25-year-old car that's falling apart, talking about how they're not going to stop and they're just going to keep doing it. It's the exact same shit. It's the exact same shit.
Some of the most self-saboteur sons of bitches on the planet, and that's what comedians are. Some of the comedians that you love, that you've seen in a comedy club near you, drive similar cars to this guy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Disasters of human beings. Yeah. So, watch that. Al Snow is the guy who runs Ohio Valley Wrestling, and he's kind of the boss of the whole thing, and it centers around him. Yeah.
I'm wearing an Al Snow shirt right now.
Yeah, Al Snow sent us some. He had sent us some of his merch, the collar and elbow stuff, and what a great guy he is. First of all,
incredible.
I've never met him, but he sent us something. It was nice to us like that. And
before we've said a word about him,
I guess because we mentioned him on an episode. I think the Marty Jannetty episode because he was tag team with Marty Jannetty, and we were very. Al's a great fucking worker. Yeah. A great wrestler, smart guy. I mean, there's nothing bad to say about him. He was like, thanks for not saying anything shitty about me and sent us something. So he's a great, funny guy, and he's just one of the most dry, his deadpan humor is hilarious. Like, that guy is funny as shit. He really is legit funny.
The scariest calm voice I've ever heard in my life.
When someone's telling him something and he's just and he's not saying anything in response, he's either going to tell you why he agrees with you or he's going to level you with how dumb you are. One of the two.
Contemplating how he's about to murder you.
Dude, like a crocodile. Like he lays in wait like a crocodile and then just clamps his jaws on you and you're like, God damn, that's a smart motherfucker. But I've seen him in shoot interviews too, and he's just a really smart, funny guy.
And he may still be smart and funny like that because he was such a good wrestler. He protected himself on falls and such that he didn't, or he's just got a tough fucking brain and tough body because he seems to have it all together still.
No, he put his body on the line in the 90s. I mean, he started in ECW, so he had to, I mean, it was all about putting your body on the line, and that was kind of part of his gimmick was like he was nuts and he didn't care, and he had his fucking head, and a
lot of those guys they have no brain anymore. Whether even their cognitive function, it's obvious that it's off.
They have CTE. A lot of these guys,
right. That's my point. But he's still running a business and doing great.
No, he's one of those guys that's his head is still good. You can tell he's got a great mind in him. So
I want to have a beer and barbecue with him.
Oh shit, yeah, dude, yeah. But I got to get him a light for his barbecue though. We were watching that. We're watching that one. And I'm like, Al, put a fucking light up. They have those clip ones you can just put up on your gutter because he's got like his phone flashlight trying to do bacon and burgers. I'm like, Al, it looked good still, but I'm going to send him. You know what? I'm going to send
his daughter. Listens to the show.
Oh, she's
I'm going to message her and be like, give me an address. We're sending him several barbecue lights.
I'm just going to send Ohio Valley Wrestling. I'll find the address for that, and we're going to send him some of those clip-on lights. Al, your next barbecue is going to be illuminated on us, pal.
We should send him one every week for the next year. He just has 52 of them just laying around.
It's like daylight out there. It's like noon when I barbecue at 2 a.m. now. It's like noon outside.
See my hot dogs no matter what time of day it is.
That's hilarious. So Charles here, back to Rockin Rebel. He got into wrestling as a kid. You know, 60s, 70s wrestling, and NWA down south was huge, and I'm sure he was a fan of the Briscoes and guys like that, the Southern workers, good workers, Terry Funk and all those kind of guys. So he gets into that. Not a lot is known about his childhood because he never got to be very famous, so nobody bothered to ask. When you get famous, people go, what created this? And they're curious. But when you don't, no one cares about you, they don't care where you came from. Doesn't matter. It's not going to be a learning experience. It's not going to be a cautionary tale. It's just, who cares?
That's how you know if you matter to whatever industry you're in. Yeah. Has anybody asked you about your childhood?
Anybody ask you what created you? What was it like being a young Charles Williams? Nope, never asked him.
There's so many comedians that I want to ask him. Has anybody ever asked you about your childhood? And then just walk away.
Because they'll go, I mean, my therapist.
Yeah.
But not like anyone who I wasn't paying. No. Just
Your
my therapist.
Your therapist and your significant other that is about to leave you doesn't count.
And they only ask, they go, what happened to you?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Why?
What made you like this? That's what they're asking, which is a totally
Why are
different.
you doing this to yourself?
Different question here. So his early 20s, Charles tries to get into wrestling. And he gets training by, this is the other thing too, his trainers are legendary. And in the late 80s, they were still hot shit. The Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson were his trainers. They have I think Ricky Morton still has a wrestling school to this day.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of those guys do. They have wrestling schools and make a little dough on the side. And it makes sense too, because a guy like Ricky Morton should be teaching people. I don't know if you know who the Rock and Roll Express are.
I know who the both of them are, yeah.
Yeah, together. Ricky Morton's the blonde one. And Robert Gibson, too. Great worker, too. They're both really great. But Ricky Morton is a guy that when a certain type of selling, acting like you're getting the shit beaten out of you,
right. Yeah.
To do it in a certain perfect way as a babyface is known as the Ricky Morton sell in wrestling. That's
that good.
He's that good. If you're selling like a motherfucker, but doing it not over the top in a really good way that makes people want to help you in the audience, they go, it's a Ricky Morton sell. Because that was Ricky Morton. He'd look up to the audience and put his hand up, and people would try to come over the fucking gate to help him. It would be fucking crazy. He was so good at it,
Yeah.
And he was a little blonde guy too, so it really looked like he was getting the shit kicked out of him by the Road Warriors and the fucking Andersons and people like that. So anyway, Rock and Roll Express are his trainers. So he's got a good base coming from those guys because they're great workers, especially tag team workers. Christ. So. He's a big guy. That's the thing, too. He's a kind of a big, strapping kind of guy. 6 feet tall, not a tall guy. So
it's good.
Yeah, not in the 80s, you're not going to go very far in the big organizations at 6 feet tall unless you're a real nasty fucker, because at that point, everybody was 6'5". It was the land of giants back in those days, so a little too much. So he ends up, picking out his Rockin Rebel as his nickname here, which... He had the Confederate flag sometimes at the time.
He did.
Yeah, he would have the Confederate flag. But like I said, it wasn't like his whole...
Wasn't a whole thing.
Yeah, because when you would watch him in 93, 94 in ECW, I just didn't even know what his gimmick was. It was just, he's the Rockin' Rebel. He was just some guy who loses all the time. That was his... Just some blonde guy.
Just a dude that likes Duran, and he's from Alabama.
Maybe that's all it is. Who knows? That's possible.
Just rocking out, guys.
So looks like the first matches that I've seen that were televised matches that were anything. I don't know if he was in some tiny place before this, but he's on WWF Superstars of Wrestling which is the main, syndicated show that was on. Yeah. When you'd wake up on Saturday morning, that was the show that was on. April 4th, 89. He loses to the Honky Tonk Man in under 2 minutes there.
Oh, no.
So he got shake, rattle, and rolled there probably, more than likely, I would assume. That's what
It's perfect for the Rockin' Rebel.
That's perfect. He works under Chuck Williams as his name. So again, he uses his real name, which makes no sense to me. I don't know. In 1989, in June of 89, he's on Wrestling Challenge, which is WWF, and he and George Scotland, who I believe is Arnold Scotland's son. Arnold Scotland was a famous manager for years and years. Bob Backlund's manager when he was champion. He's the guy that threw in the towel when he lost to the Sheik and all that kind of shit. He had a son named George who apparently wasn't very good because he's teaming with Chuck Williams to get the shit beaten out of him by the Barbarian and the Warlord, the Powers of Pain, in 2 minutes. So
was this in the time when Vince was taking any name that you had there and as ownership, and if you did anything, was that why he did this rather than bringing the Rockin' Rebel? Because then he can't work under that?
It didn't matter. For jobbers, nobody cared. He wasn't going to fucking trademark a jobber's name. It cost more to trademark than he would pay this guy for 10 fucking matches.
Yeah.
These guys came in for $50 a shot to job.
Right.
I mean, that was their job. They'd come in.
So you could have done it either way, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Work 3 matches on a television taping, get the shit beaten out of them 3 to just meet, to get beat up. That's all they were. To make the other guys look good, though. I mean, that's a talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make somebody look good and look strong. Then he loses to Brutus Beefcake, as well in June of I think it's the same taping probably. Loses to Brutus Beefcake in a minute and a half there in Rochester. That is.
That's a quick warm-up fight, huh?
Oh yeah. Those were the quick matches. The squash matches were fast.
Yeah,
they were real fast. They
are fun to watch when they're quick like that.
Oh yeah,
I don't care much for the long throws. I get that it's athleticism and it's amazing to watch, but the long throws and constant back and forth and at some point you just want somebody to fucking win.
Yeah, if there's two really good guys though that can build it, that's the thing. It's like a comedy set, man. It's the same thing. Like someone who shouldn't be doing an hour, you don't want to watch them do an hour. But someone who's a fucking master at an hour.
Yeah,
you don't even realize it's an hour because they've built this up so much where you're not even you're involved in it, and that's what good wrestlers can do. I mean, go watch Flair Steamboat from the late '80s or guys like that. Like they had hour matches that were man. They built the story up that was really good. So it depends, but the job matches are fun too because you get to see the really good guy just toss this guy around, do his the finishing move's going to get done.
Yeah.
You're going to get to see the complete destruction of this person. Right. That's fun to watch. Who doesn't want to see that?
And if you don't like it, guess what? It's almost over. That's good.
It'll be over in a minute and 34 seconds, like the Brutus Beefcake match.
It's awesome.
In July of '89, he and Paul Van Dale tagged up to lose to the fabulous Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond here in 3 minutes and 12 seconds. A little longer for a tag match, because you got to let both guys do their shit.
Got to do it both times.
Yeah. The Rougeaus had to do their shit. Then this is when he ends up going in 1990. This is January of 1990 to TWA, which is it's the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. It's the predecessor to ECW.
Okay.
A guy named Joel Goodhart, I guess, ran this version of it, and then this is what Todd Gordon, I believe, ended up getting it from him, and then Paul Heyman took credit for everything. So that's
ECW is fucking rad.
ECW is fucking great. By the way, if you want to,
dangerous.
It's wild stuff. But it was innovative at the time, and it just had that. When you watch a show from like 94, 95, that time period in the ECW arena. It's fucking gritty in there, man. That crowd, it's a rough crowd too. It's a rough crowd. They're all smart too. They all they know what's going on. The fans all know what's up. They're hard to fool. You got to do it a certain way. It was a totally different environment. They had all new music as their didn't care about copyrights. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The TV show had White Zombie as their fucking intro
Is that
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah, that's they didn't care.
Dragula or something.
They just did it. Fuck, it was crazy. So there you go. This is when he comes in and he beats Joey Maggs in his match here at the McGonigal Hall in Philly.
Oh,
I don't know what the McGonigal Hall is at all.
I don't know.
I don't think that's the bingo hall that was the ECW arena later. It might be though. Who knows what the hell name changes these things go through. Then he beats CN Red. And this is a 13-minute match, so you got to watch them for 13 minutes here. Tri-State Wrestling. The Rebel became the first Tri-State champion at the time.
Is that right?
So he gets a belt for whatever that's worth for the Tri-State Wrestling. Because these were, when you listen to the book, by the way, I highly recommend the book if you're interested in ECW at all, or just a funny fucking story. Yeah. Todd Gordon's new book, Sean Oliver wrote with him, the Kayfabe Commentaries guy, who's excellent, does excellent work. He wrote a book called Todd is God, which is, they used to chant that. So
very funny.
He tells the whole story of how ECW started and, all this type of shit, and how this version of it, TWA, was basically the guy who was running, I think it was Joel Goodhart, but I guess maybe not. I can't remember now, but I think that's who it was. This guy, he basically would hire guys based on, I'd like to see this card. So I'll hire all these guys, and this guy wants $400, and this guy wants $500, and I got to fly this guy in from Florida, and I got to take him. But he wouldn't have a plan he'd sell 60 tickets to it.
Great.
So he'd lose money all the time.
Yeah.
So he was losing money, and he brought Todd Gordon in to try to help, and Todd Gordon ended up just kind of buying the company from him because this guy didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And then Todd Gordon took it over, and that's how ECW came on there. So he teamed with a guy named Jimmie Jannetty, not Marty, Jimmy.
Not anywhere near
Marty's little brother, Jimmie Jannetty,
Is it?
No, it's not at all. To form a tag team called the Confederacy. So there you go. That makes sense. So they were always feuding for the tag titles and all that kind of thing. TWA, though, stopped making shows in like 1991. I'm looking at all these shows. Oh, the original Sports Bar. I think that's where ECW, when Todd Gordon took over, the first shows they were doing were at Mike Schmidt's Sports Bar in Philly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Where they were
Mike Schmidt.
Mike Schmidt's Sports Bar, it's called. Yeah. A Philly. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They do shows there hoping to get 100 people to sell 100 tickets. And they're saying, like, they were saying they couldn't, like, you had to be careful doing a backdrop that you didn't hit your feet on the ceiling because it's a fucking bar. It's not, when you put the ring in, that's a few feet in the air and then you're.
Wow.
So a little dangerous there to do that. But that's the kind of shit indie wrestling was doing. You had to do it there. It's interesting that grew into something big. It's kind of cool here. He also, here, 1990, the NWA Power Hour filming here in Greenwood, Mississippi. So this is like WCW here. In a handicap match, Rockin Rebel and Terry Bronson get beat by Mean Mark, who will be the Undertaker later on that year.
Mean Mark.
Mean Mark. That's what he went by in WCW. Because
his name's Mark. Real name Mark?
Mark Calloway, yeah. So he goes by Mean Mark back then. He was just a great gimmick, WCW. Yeah. You got a 6'10" redheaded guy that can walk a top rope, and you go, Mean Mark. Great. That's just great.
Got it.
Wow. Top tier behind the scenes work, guys. That's excellent. Guy was a star for 30 years after that, and they're like, I don't know. We can't figure out what to do with Mean Mark. I just don't know.
You got any ideas? Nothing. God damn it.
God damn it. Some of these matches, I'm looking at the TWA stuff. Larry Winters, Rockin Rebel, and Tony Stetson. Larry Winters is a trainer. Also, Tony Stetson's another guy who stuck around for a long time in ECW. Beat DC Drake, Johnny Hotbody, and Mondo Clean. God, these are all these early 90s like indie names.
Stetson a cowboy? He fucking better be.
No.
If not, they blew it. They goddamn blew it again.
He was just a tough guy.
You can't name a guy Stetson because the hat has become a thing.
I think that was just his real name.
Yeah, probably is.
And I want to say that for a while he was trying to call himself Tough Tony Stetson. Like he had no gimmick. He was just a guy that wore he wore like cut off jeans and just came to the ring. Like down to his knees, and he'd just be like, I'm tough. Look at me. He was a stocky little guy, but I mean,
but stupid.
Had no personality. There is a battle royal on February or July 21st, 1990 for the vacant heavyweight championship of TWA at the Max Myers Playground in Philly.
An actual playground.
Did they put a ring like next to the spinny thing?
Fucking merry-go-round.
No, what's the spinny thing you get on and is very dangerous? No, not with horses and shit.
No, they still called that a
merry-go-round.
Didn't they call that a merry-go-round? I always called it a merry-go-round.
I was asking you. I have no idea.
The whirlybird thing. They had like the little bars that.
Yeah. And if you fall off and try to get on, and then it hits you in the head and knocks you unconscious. Yeah, which I've seen numerous kids do that.
Or they spin you around until you grab the bars and your legs swing out right, and then you drop another kid.
And then another
kid
falls off.
Kick him right in the fucking face.
Yeah. So this fucking playground main event, Rockin Rebel is the winner, so he wins the heavyweight title.
Yeah, over the fucking monkey bars.
He does that. Then in another match, he loses to DC Drake, loses the title at Penn Hall in Philly. They do Penn Hall for a while. He does another show here at the Monsignor Bonner High School in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
What is the tri-state area? Is that Pennsylvania, Jersey, and New York, or is it?
It's actually Connecticut, New York, New Jersey is the tri-state area. So I don't know where they're
while they wrestle in Pennsylvania.
But it's right. Philly's right by Jersey though, so it's
you could see New York, same thing.
It's all right there. It's all the same thing. It's 10 minutes from Jersey. What do you want?
Yeah.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II. not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
I don't know what this is, but in 1990 here, he participates in a reverse cage battle royal. What the fuck is a reverse cage?
That's where there's no cage.
That's a reverse cage where you could just walk right out. It's fine. Reverse cage. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that.
That's when it's open.
But involved in this match, Rockin Rebel beat Bounty Hunter, Cheetah Kid, Crybaby Waldo, Ghetto Blaster.
What is that?
Larry Winters, Ron Shaw, and Ron Shaw was still around. Ron Shaw was a preliminary guy for WWF in the early 80s where he was this big fucking guy, but he just was like, his head looked like somebody's dad. He just looked like an old, he looked like he was coming home from the office with thinning blonde hair and shit, but he had this body of like, I'm a big tough guy, but his head didn't fit it, so it just didn't work very well. Top Gun is somebody's name, and Triton.
Stupid.
Yeah, we'll get done with these involved in this wrestling stuff, but it's just a goddamn blast.
It's a lot of fun.
It's really fun to talk about names and things of that nature. I get a kick out of that.
And you know, the names venues. Not matching the gimmick is even better.
I love that. I love that. That's very, very fun here. Apparently, they were the tag team champions, Rockin Rebel and Jimmy Jannetty, till they lost to Johnny Hotbody and Larry Winters. At TWA Spring Spectacular 2.
Oh, the second one. Yeah.
2. Gotta have that. He loses to a Sandman, who, Sandman with the stick there.
Fantastic.
Known as Mr. Sandman at the time. And
really?
Yeah, up until about late 93, he came out with a surfboard wearing a wetsuit. Sandman. What? Yeah. Fucking Sandman came out in a surfboard. If you don't know who Sandman is, this won't make sense to you. But later on, Sandman, when he plays basically himself later on, he comes out in fucking Zuba pants or like jeans later, in a sleeveless T-shirt, smoking and drinking. He's the first guy who was drinking beers on the way to the ring.
He's the reason Stone Cold slaps them together. He did that before Stone Cold did.
In ECW, there's a goddamn Sandman was doing it for a while, but there's a show where they are in the ring or on the aisle. I can't remember, but it's Stone Cold and fucking, he wasn't Stone Cold yet, but him and fucking Sandman are pounding beers in the alley because he's doing Sandman's thing with them.
Hilarious.
And then he's doing it and made $1 trillion off it. But I mean, that's fine. People borrow gimmicks all the time.
Yeah, but still, it's still annoying because people think that now people see it and they go, "Oh, that's that Stone Cold thing." It's
Sandman doesn't get the credit he deserves for doing that. Or actually,
and he went by Mr. Sandman, like
Mr. Sandman,
song?
like Mr. Sandman. Yeah, he'd come out to that song.
Really?
Yes. He'd come out to that song, and then later on he'd come out to like Surfin' USA with fucking. He's a drunk from Philly. That's the thing. Like that's who he is. Like,
I just wanted to be Malibu Ken.
Yeah, fucking Hack. Everybody calls him Hack that's ever talked to him before. In the mid-2000s, I was trying to put this movie together, and he was good for a part, so I had cast him in the movie. I've talked to him on the phone for an hour at a time, a couple different times, Hack, and he's a smart fucking guy, first of all.
Really?
Crazy, but a smart dude and an interesting guy to talk to. But he's just a fucking regular guy from Philly. He's just like a construction worker from Philly. And why are you putting him in a wetsuit? It makes no sense. You feel like in Philly, making him just Hack would have been better anyway. So
making him do a stupid 50s gimmick.
It's very fucking weird. Yeah, it's very weird here. Last Blood Battle Royal. I know what a first blood is. I don't know what the last to bleed loses.
I guess last blood is the winner, right?
I guess so. Whoever bleeds last is the winner. I don't know. He loses that anyway. Sabu's in that 91. Oh. Wow, that's a real early sighting of Sabu for ECW. This is at the original sports bar in Philly. Also the Overbrook High School in Pine Hill, New Jersey they're in. He must have broke up with Jimmy Jannetty at one point because he's fighting him here. So that's interesting. Then he goes on to Puerto Rico to I believe it's WWC. Let me look. Hold on a second. Let me give you a rundown because I have a list of all of the promotions he was in, more or less.
Oh,
I have like a key. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Oh,
like a promotion key, basically, so I know what they are. But it's hard to find. Hold on, I gotta find it, and I'll run down the list for you.
Keep digging,
and you'll fucking understand what I'm talking about.
We will hang on every bated breath word.
Okay, you have TWA, Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, Capital, which is WWA, Puerto Rico. That's where he goes there. AWF, All-Star Wrestling Federation. BBW, which is not what you think it is.
He wrestles for those big asses. Huh?
He wrestles heavy-set black women usually. That's what he's doing. That's Bad to the Bone Wrestling.
Oh, boy, did they fuck that up.
They even put bone in there. MEWF, Mid-Eastern Wrestling Federation, and not like Syria or something. Like they mean like, Ohio, I think. Right. WWWA, Worldwide Wrestling Alliance, as if the WWA wasn't enough for you. IWF, Infinity Wrestling Federation. BJW, Big Japan Wrestling. Not what you think either.
Not what the winner gets.
EWA, Empire Wrestling Alliance. TWZ, the Wrestling Zone. JAPW, so... That sounds like it should.
That feels like what your racist uncle calls it.
Yeah, or if your grandfather was in World War II when you were a kid, this is what they call. That's the Jersey All Pro Wrestling. No,
it's not even close.
No, not even close. God, I love this. I love wrestling. It's just great.
It's so much fun.
LAW, which is Liberty All-Star Wrestling. Law Wrestling, PWF, Premier Wrestling Federation. We're nowhere near done, by the way.
Oh, my God.
PXW, Pro Excitement Wrestling.
Excitement?
Yeah, you ever thought they meant extreme, right?
Extreme.
No. Extreme.
They fuck you every time.
Even ECW used E and not X.
Right.
WCICW, that rolls off the tongue.
Many.
Too many letters. Is that too many numbers on that license plate? That's one of those. Nope. World Class Independent Championship Wrestling.
Good Lord.
Knock a couple of those words off.
Yeah.
And don't be world class because that was Texas, you fucking assholes. Don't do that. You're not Fritz Von Erich because I don't want to hear world class. World Independent Wrestling would have been fine. WIC, I'll take that. CZW, which is Combat Zone Wrestling. Those fucking guys were insane.
Were they?
After ECW folded in 2000 or 2001, whenever it was there, a bunch of companies popped up that were like, okay, we're going to take what ECW did and that try to get that audience by only doing the crazy shit. They don't realize
only
that
the blood, light bulbs and shit.
That's exactly what it is. The fucking light tubes and all that horse shit, which is
nail matches and shit.
Yeah, that doesn't. And I've heard a lot of wrestlers say this too. That doesn't take any talent to do that.
No,
it takes
just smashing shit on somebody.
You have to be tough to get hit with stuff, but it doesn't take. Anybody could walk into a ring and fucking hit somebody with a light tube and have the crowd go, "Oh shit!" Like that doesn't take any talent. That's a lot of the good workers. You'll hear them say that. Like that's there's reasons and ways to do matches like that. There's ways. There's this feud and this happened. There's ways to build to stuff, but you don't need to do things that are actually that dangerous to
as evidenced
hurt each other.
by the Instagram page of that kid that takes his shirt off and does backflips and shit onto trays of cactus. And
it's
stuff.
stupid.
It's just a lunatic that's doing lunatic shit. That's it.
The art of wrestling's supposed to be to look like you're getting hurt and look like you're hurting someone without actually doing it. That's the art of the whole thing. You know, besides, if you're not doing that, it's whatever. So CZW Combat Zone Wrestling was one of those, lot of light tubes, I believe, and shit like
Lots
that.
of blood.
Lots of blood. I think like that's where you'll get a lot of Nick Gage matches and stuff, which we'll definitely do.
Fuck, man.
We've been asked a lot to do an episode on him, and don't worry. I was just letting him. He's marinating at the moment. He'll,
That's a lot of instability.
Yeah, we'll put him on Al Snow's Dark Grill one of these days. Don't worry about it. WXW World Extreme Wrestling, BWO, which was a gimmick in ECW, which was the Blue World Order, making fun of the New World Order. Okay. This is Blackballed Wrestling Organization. WOW, WOW, which is Warriors of Wrestling, but there's also a WOW that's female wrestling now, based in California, I believe. Remember on The Wrestlers, the two ladies went to fight for WOW, so that's something. DCW, any guesses?
District of Columbia Wrestling.
Dynamite Championship Wrestling.
Same thing, yeah.
FNW.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
That's why I set that one up for you. Far North Wrestling.
Yeah.
VPW, Valor Pro Wrestling. I don't know what's up with that. I think they're going for
just veterans.
They're like, I like Ring of Honor, so I'm going to do Valor. Because Ring of Honor is another promotion from back in the day. KPW, which is Keystone Pro Wrestling. I assume that's Pennsylvania based. PWE, Pro Wrestling Empire. And then ACW, Atomic Championship Wrestling. Atomic, like
the wedgie. Yep.
Atomic Championship Wrestling seems a little wordy. Atomic, calm down. So he goes to Puerto Rico here, and he's in Puerto Rico for pretty much, looks like all of 1992, working all the time. I mean, there's tons of matches here. Trying to see guys that people would know who they are. Doug Masters, he was something later on. And there's some of the guys, but somebody goes by Heartbreaker Adonis, which is a funny name considering. I just think of Adrian Adonis if I think here of Adonis and a wrestler. So, and he wasn't a heartbreaker; he was a fucking 350-pound tub of shit. Great.
Every time I hear
the
name, I'm reminded that Paul Mooney has a grandson that they named Adonis, who does not fit the bill. It's not no.
Or Adonis Stevenson, too, the boxer we did, too. We could think of him. Yeah. So,
but he was a big, yoked-out guy that you could imagine would be called that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's a boxer. He's in great shape.
Paul Mooney's kid's a little doughy. Not what you picture when you think a super carved-out Adonis.
Not quite there, huh?
No.
So by 92, TWA is now ECW, but it's not Extreme Championship Wrestling. It is Eastern Championship Wrestling at this point, still under the NWA banner now, because they were trying to reconstitute the NWA for some reason, even though it's been dead for a while there. So, but this is when Todd Gordon takes over, is when he changed it to ECW. This is when it becomes good. And you can start watching it from now here. He fights Sandman for the heavyweight title, still going by Mr. Sandman, by the way. Yeah. He beats the Metal Maniac at the Chestnut Cabaret in Philly.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Fighting at a fucking titty bar?
At a cabaret. I don't know if it's a titty bar or they normally have like burlesque shows or something. Yeah, I don't know. Cabaret, it sounds like it.
That's
how disappointed. If you're there to see tits, though, you don't want to see wrestling.
Not his tits. I want her tits.
Like, if you go to see wrestling and see tits, that's fine. That's a 2-for-1. But if you go to see tits, you're not interested in wrestling.
And
you're there
just see
for
wrestling?
tits.
God damn it.
No. Absolutely not.
It's an even swap if you go for the opposite.
That doesn't work at all. So, yeah, he's fighting. He does some stuff in Japan in 93 as well. Comes back, does an IWCCW show. Does a couple of those. That's a lot, too. IWCCW. And, Johnny Rotten he fights. Okay. That's Johnny and be probably, I wonder if that's Axl Rotten's original gimmick. He went by Johnny Rotten, and then they were like, don't go by that. That's an actual guy.
That. So he went by... He was fantastic.
So then he went by Axl Rotten. And he had his brother Ian Rotten, not his real brother, but a guy. And then they broke up and they had fights through 95 where they beat each other with barbed wire baseball bats. For real.
Hell, man.
Got them stuck in each other's arms and shit where they couldn't get it out. Yeah.
Dear
Just
God.
Beating. They had they had taped fist matches where they had taped fists that were, they dipped their fists in glue with the tape on it and then dip them in broken glass. And they would fucking, they were cut the fuck out of each other. Yeah. Axel Rotten still had, 20 years later, his arm was all gnarled up from all the barbed wire shots he took in the fucking arm like an idiot. So crazy stuff.
What a stupid thing to do.
Yeah. For like, $75. You know what I mean? Like, the fuck are you doing? I mean, I guess we still remember it, but other than that,
the barbed wire, that shit's not sterile. You don't know what you could fucking get from that.
None of the shit they were using was sterile.
You're a wrestler. You don't even have insurance.
No, that's the other thing. Yeah. Oh, here's a funny story from that book, by the way, the Todd Gordon book. A funny how to scam and get your shit fixed thing. Terry Funk comes into ECW and really boosts it up as far as its prestige because Terry Funk is there and, he's a fucking god in wrestling. So Terry Funk's sitting in the locker room and I guess one of the younger guys is complaining that his neck's fucked up. Yeah. And his neck's fucked up. He's got like a compression thing and it's not good. And Terry Funk's telling him that's nothing to fuck around with there. That's compression things. You're getting dropped on your head all the time and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I don't have insurance, so I can't afford to fix it. So I don't know what to do. And Terry says, just do the rental car gimmick. And the guy goes, I don't need a ride. I don't need a car. I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes, you rent a car because Terry's got every trick in the book. He's been in the business forever. His father was in the business as a promoter. All his brothers. Yeah. He goes, go rent a car. He goes, get all the insurance you can. Might be $50. Might cost you in the 90s. He goes, then take that sumbitch and run it into a stop sign. You get out of the car, grab your neck, and wait for the ambulance, buddy. And that's it. That insurance will now fix your neck.
You betcha.
And the guy was like, great fucking idea, and did it. So that's a
the car insurance gimmick.
Do the rental car gimmick, he says. Gimmick. Yeah. Actually, I love that. That's so fucking funny.
I love that everything in their life is the gimmick.
Yeah, the gimmick, yeah.
Every fucking scam they pull, the rental car gimmick.
Just like comics, they use their jargon in everyday life. Everything. Somebody gets out of a situation, they go, I kicked out of that. You know what I mean? Like they always have the same thing with a comic. Everything. If someone adds something, and you'll say that's a tag on something. It's not a fucking joke. It's not a tag. It's the same thing. You just can't help but use this weird lingo that we've built up.
Somebody puts tomato on my cheeseburger. That's a nice tag.
That's a nice tag that pretty good. It's true. Yeah. In the business, we do all that shit all the time. So anyway, he's fighting all these guys in ECW, and he's one of the mainstays of ECW.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, because he's an original guy from TWA. Sure. So if you watch those 93, 94 ECW shows, he's on every fucking show.
Wow.
He's always in there somewhere, getting beat by, he's beating guys like Ernesto Benefica, but then he's losing to the Sandman and he's losing to people like that. So that's what he's doing. Now, in this, let's see. He loses to the Sandman. So he's doing well, though. He's a known guy. Let's say Grace now for Chuck. A funny thing from that book that Todd Gordon talks about, and many other wrestlers have talked about this because they were all involved in it, but apparently Rebel here had gone to Todd Gordon and said, how come I'm one of the, Sandman gets to be the champ all the time, and I'm one of the original guys, and I don't ever get belts. I don't get anything. I bet, you know what I mean? I'm losing all the time. I'm getting shit. So there was a battle royal that night that he was in. So Todd tells him, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're going over in the battle royal tonight. Because it was, I guess, the winner got a title shot later in the evening. And, he would lose that, but he'd be in the mix. So this will pump him up. So he said, yeah, you're going over. You're going over. Now, apparently, he immediately told everybody about it. Went and told his girlfriend about it, who then was like, oh, yeah, he's going over in the battle royal
tonight. Over tonight, yeah.
Which you're not supposed to do any of that shit. So he did all of that. So then Todd Gordon goes to all the other guys, doesn't tell Rebel that now you're not going over. He just tells everybody else.
Beat the shit out of him.
He's the first to go out.
Yeah.
Because they tell you, the booker will tell you the order of going out. It's going to be you, then you, then you, then you. And you got to watch for when guys leave because then it's your turn. Yep. They said, he's going out first. Everybody fucking dump him. Yeah. So they get in the ring and they're trying to actually toss him over, and he's hanging on the ropes going, no, I'm going over. They told me I'm going. No, I'm winning. Stop. And they're like, no, you're not, motherfucker. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Like,
I'm
for dear
Jose
life.
Canseco.
They told me I can. Oh God, Emilio. He's having problems in there, and I thought that was a fucking hilarious trick to play on a guy there.
I want to watch that. I'm
funny.
sure they don't have like the audio of it, but I want to hear him screaming.
You just want to watch him hold on for dear life, because you can see it's not natural of what they're doing. It's not a wrestling thing. It's a guy actually trying not to go over the top rope while people seriously try to throw him over. That's funny as shit.
Kicking him in the ribs while he holds the fucking ropes.
It's fucking hilarious. So looking at this, he works with a lot of bigger guys here that I see coming up here. Here's a match with Snuka in 94.
Oh, really?
Snuka was one of the ECW guys who, it was Snuka Morocco. They were originally feuding for the title there. So we got Salvatore Bellomo, who's an old WWF guy, Tommy Cairo, Tommy Dreamer, who's around still, for Christ's sake. I think he still works at WWE to this day. Not as a worker, but I think behind the scenes. Versus Jimmie Snuka, Rockin Rebel, and the Pitbull. And Pitbull's another interesting guy here. Pitbull 1 and Pitbull 2 you'll have later on. The Pitbull's the tag team. And one of them had
Junkyard Dog, the fucking British Bulldog.
They came with chains too. They were a good tag team. They were just short. Yeah. Otherwise, they were really good together. Yeah, they had a pretty good team. Them, let's see, Chad Austin, Tommy Guy. All right, so yeah, he's just kind of he's getting beat by like by Tommy Dreamer in '94 though, which is before Tommy Dreamer was really anybody. Loses to Tommy Cairo. Mikey Whipwreck beats him. Yeah, it's good. Taz, who was the Tasmaniac back then, beats him in 1 minute and 32 seconds. That's a fucking squash match, man. It's not. He loses in 3 minutes and 24 seconds to Mikey Whipwreck. That's not great. So, he's kind of not doing well anymore because they're getting in better guys. As ECW gets better, they start to get in better wrestlers, and then guys who aren't that good go to the bottom tier. It's just the way it is.
And 94 to 96, there were some really, like, there's legendary dudes that came in around then. Stuck around for quite some time. And The Rock came in, well, a little bit earlier than 90s, that. But
no, 95, 96.
95, right?
When he started, and that's when he started going to wrestling school or whatever. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
so
these are like major dudes are coming in now, and people like The Undertaker are fucking legendary at this moment. Like big things are happening.
Yeah,
he better up the game, or else he's going to be tossed aside.
And this is another time. This is a time when 93 and early 94 till Monday Nitro took off. Both the major federations were in a huge downswing.
Yeah.
So there was more guys available because as Vince McMahon lost money, he cuts guys off his roster.
Casts them off, yep.
And then they're available, and then they end up going ECW. And you got a guy with a big name, and also you'll have guys that are in between, like they're going to go work for WCW in 2 months, and they were in there, and they go like Cactus Jack, like Steve Austin, Brian Pillman did that. A bunch of guys who were major stars came in for like 2 months to ECW.
Wild.
Which was cool. So you get all this kind of cool stuff, or you never know who's going to pop up.
You love that because then it's like free agency, where it's good for the player to get experience elsewhere too, and the exposure is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good for him. On one of the cards here, he is playing Doink, actually.
The Clown?
The Clown, which, Doink first started out as Matt Bourne, who we should also do an episode on. Yeah. Started out as Matt Bourne. WWF fired him for failing drug tests, and so they just put the gimmick on somebody else because it's a clown suit with makeup.
It's dumb, yeah.
But Matt Bourne was really good at being a bad clown, and then nobody else was. Then Matt Bourne went to ECW wearing like a weird version of the Doink costume, even though he wasn't allowed to, and WWF was trying to sue him for it and everything. And then other people just started wearing the Doink costume, and apparently this guy included. So he loses to Coco Beware at an AWF event. Remember him with the bird?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Loses to Coco Beware. He's all sorts of different names that aren't him. Kato, he goes by under this one, which is probably under a mask, I would assume.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just not going wonderful here. Things aren't going great in his personal life either, because sometime in the mid-90s here, and we don't know the exact date because, again...
Should have been more famous, you son of a bitch.
If you were a little more famous, we'd have more details for you here on this. But sometime in the mid-90s here, right around this time, he is arrested for... He's got a wife, Stephanie, and he'll still have a wife, Stephanie, later on. She's going to stick around for a long time. He held her hostage in a closet.
Oh, boy.
With a gun to her head.
Oh, yeah.
Threatening to kill her and kill himself also.
Oh, the old murder-suicide trope.
Yeah, so the cops are called in.
It's a bad gimmick.
It's a bad gimmick, that closet murder-suicide trope. You doing that murder-suicide gimmick again, bro? Let me put a tag on that. I'll call the cops. So, okay. Yeah, that's how that goes. That's not great. So the cops come in, and apparently there's a bit of a standoff, and he eventually comes out and will serve time in prison for this because you can't hold people hostage in a closet.
Right.
At gunpoint.
Wrongful imprisonment, kidnapping. There's a lot of things.
There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
Host of charges.
A host of charges, really. People would say that Stephanie would try to get out of their marriage all the time. He would apparently threaten to kill himself if she left. He was that
one
guy.
Of those guys.
And he's a guy that really has some serious brain damage later on, as we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Like, he'll leave the house to go to the store and call his wife and say, I don't know where I'm going. Where am I supposed to be going? He'll forget where he was going.
No.
Like, he's that fucking stunad by the end there. So,
Jesus.
by, the modern times.
Yeah.
So we don't know if this was developing or what, but he was taking a lot of shots in the head with a chair. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
ECW was famous for these stiff chair shots where if you put your hands up, you were considered a pussy.
Right.
Nope. You had to fucking put your head out and take it, which is the dumbest fucking
crazy
thing ever. And we all cheered for it back in the day, but it's like, Christ, I look at it now and I see a guy get hit in the head like that, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And
it's not just like in the face. It's like
it's right
over
on top
the
of the head.
top.
Yeah.
God damn it.
You watch like Tanaka and Mike Awesome have a match in the late 90s, and these guys would break fucking chairs over each other's heads. Steal fucking chairs. They'd beat, not just once because they gimmicked it with the fucking screws. We're talking beat him with the chair until it broke.
Oh, my God.
And they would fucking do that every night. It's crazy. So Mike Awesome killed himself, by the way, eventually.
Did he really?
His fucking brain was fucked up.
I wonder if that contributed, James.
You think, right? And Tanaka is Japanese, so I think he was fine for some reason. I don't know how. Japanese people are tough like that. I don't know what it is, but they like, you look at the dojos over, they torture each other and they're fine. Like,
they kick each other in the balls. Like,
it's wild.
Exchange shots to the nuts and everything's fine. Like, what is going on in that?
Don't exchange shots to the head with a Japanese person.
Never.
You're going to lose. You're going to end up killing
kill
yourself.
And they're going to go to the grocery store and know exactly where to go and what to get.
They're going to be running like a nice model boat shop later on or something. Something real of their interest.
Inside jars.
Yeah. So they end up keeping together over time, even though it starts in the mid-90s, this instability. Over the next 20 years, they're going to have this instability, all these problems, and everything like that. So it's pretty fucking interesting. Shane Douglas, by the way, here is I have a quote from Shane Douglas. You know who that is?
No.
He wrestled all over the place. He's a fucking, he's a legendary guy at this point. He's been around forever.
Did he have a gimmick, or was just wrestled under Shane Douglas?
When he was in WWF at the time, he was Dean Douglas and played a teacher.
Yikes.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And he also was in the Dynamic Dudes in WCW with him and Johnny Ace.
That feels creepy.
It didn't work very well at all.
I can't imagine.
In Philly, there's a famous time where they came out, and they're supposed to be baby faces, and the Dynamic Dudes, and they come out, and there's a big sign that says, Shane sucks Johnny's dick. Someone had a big fucking sign that said that.
There it is.
Ruined the whole thing.
Bingo.
Yeah. They were just depressed afterwards. Like, dude, we're supposed to be good guys, and there's kids saying we suck each other's dicks. This doesn't work.
A 12-year-old just told me I'd blow you.
I mean, that's in Philly, though. That's to be expected.
Yeah.
We love Philly. That's why we love Philly.
God damn it, they're ruthless.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. So he says this is what Rockin Rebel was like backstage. Quote, "He and I always got along, although Chuck and anyone that knows him knows what I'm talking about. He wasn't the kind of guy who would let his hair down with you. If you were talking about subject A, he would say a few things about subject A and was on his way, and he was like an overly intense guy. So he wouldn't stick around and get in a deep conversation with you. Go blah, 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 polite enough, but then leave. He was like an overly intense guy. He'd scream about a parking spot type of thing. Like come in like, oh, these motherfuckers. He's also on shitloads of steroids is the other thing.
Right.
To try to even compete in this, he needs to be 245, and the only way he's achieving that is with a shitload of steroids, and I can't imagine he's doing them in a correct way.
Right.
So he's getting hit in the head. He's jacking himself up with steroids. None of this is good.
Pills, powders, and shots. It's got to be intense.
It's a lot. It's a real lot. So
a few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
They kind of, he's not really, as ECW goes, he's not really in their plans. You know what I mean? He's just going to be a jobber. If you're going to be a jobber there, you might as well be a jobber for one of the big companies. Yeah. So he would never really get any TV time. He'll go with WCW and WWF a little bit, but he'll be like a house show jobber. Like he's not really getting on TV or anything like that. He does go to Japan and Korea and Puerto Rico again in the 90s here. And I don't know if that was because of his legal troubles or what, but either way, he ends up in BJW in Japan for a while, and comes back to the States. I see him on WCW Saturday Night in '95. getting beat by Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful there.
Really?
So chances are he took a pile driver on that one.
That's a late showing for Paul, right?
95.
Yeah.
He was already working in the office for like 5 years, but he was still wrestling too because he was a name. That was after he beat up Vader and all that shit. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
Fucking Orndorff's crazy. So where is he here? Oh, NWA New Jersey. Jesus Christ. He's not Johnny Gunn. It's just not a... He's beating him, going under Chuck Williams a little bit in Japan, I think, because that makes him sound more American. So that's good.
Yeah, and they love to hate that. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know what the fuck a rebel is over there.
No.
That flag means nothing to them. They don't care at all. I doubt. They have no idea what you're talking about. So he goes through all these different NWA New Jersey. This is when he wrestles for BBW.
Okay.
So 96 is, I guess, BBW. That wasn't an internet porn category at that point. So later on,
now it's just women that are getting giant asses. It's not even even a thing. It's
I haven't kept up on
these enormous asses surgically implanted. It's a BBW.
Like silly asses. Like novelty.
Crazy. Yes, it's. I bought these stretch pants that look terrible on me, so I'm gonna make them look better on me.
Okay, just with novelty.
Novelty ass. Yeah.
Novelty surgery ass.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Nothing natural. Gotcha. All right.
No, nothing. Did not do squats for this.
I used to have a skinny ass and did some squats.
Not one squat. Lots of dollars.
So I'm reading this 96 Bayou Productions, Jesus Christ, in Woodbridge, Virginia. Wouldn't want to. That doesn't sound good at all. Listen to this: Axl Rotten, Chris Stevenson, and the Headbangers, who were in WWF right after that, beat Cue Ball Carmichael. I'd love to know who the fuck that is, if that's somebody we know.
I'm guessing a bald man.
Glenn Osborne, who turned out to be what's his name, the vampire guy.
Glenn Campbell.
Yes, Glenn Campbell. Who's the vampire guy in WWF from the late 90s? Gangrel. That's it.
I would have never guessed that one.
He was married to Luna Vachon, I think. He's that guy, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Dennis, this is nice. MEWF. Devin Storm and Mark Schrader defeat Rockin Rebel and Thomas Rodman, Dennis's brother. So he's doing great here. Everything's... Is this guy's name Black Caesar? That's great.
Is it?
But it's Cezzar. I think he's trying to say Caesar. Yeah, he's trying to be Black Caesar. Black Caesar beats him for the IWF national title.
Awesome.
So there's that.
Yeah.
You get beat by Black Caesar. You can go, well, he's Black Caesar. What do you want from me? That's an interesting title. There's another match, JAPW, which is Jersey All Pro, as we know. He faces a tag team called the Hit Squad with Mafia and Monsta Mac are the participants there.
Okay. His
team is, quote, the Hate Squad.
No.
Okay. Oh my God. The Hate Squad, his partner is a guy named Skinhead Ivan. The Rockin Rebel with his Confederate flag and the Skinhead guy are the Hate Squad, I guess, so they could that way they fight black tag teams, I guess.
What year was this?
2001.
Oh my God! I guess
indie wrestling, like shit indie wrestling, will use gimmicks that were like real eye rollers 20 years earlier because they got nothing else to really do. They need
I guess we were all distracted by those burning towers to give a shit about this.
Too much. We were like, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
This was actually September 21st, 2001.
Yeah, that's exactly what was happening. There was a smoldering pile that nobody gave a fuck about anything else.
I'm surprised they weren't fighting like, Johnny and Jason Raghead or something, though, to make it even more racist and dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Abdullah Akbar and this guy fighting the Hate Squad. And Jesus, that doesn't make sense.
With goat references and all kinds of horrible shit.
No shit. So he teams up with Glenn Osborne for a while. They have a tag team called the Dark Side there. Oh, my God. There it is, Jimmy. Your dream. You found it.
Oh, boy.
There's a triple threat match here with in 2001 with Rich Myers, the Rebel, and Van Hammer, the guy you thought he was with the
there he is,
the terrible WCW guy. God, he sucked, Van Hammer.
Yeah,
he was bad. He was fucking bad. So he Combat Zone Wrestling in 2000. Jesus Christ. This is a lot, man. He's in all. This sounds exhausting. Keeping all these bookings straight sounds exhausting because he's in different places all the time.
That's the thing. When wrestling was such a big deal, and there was all this demand for it, but all the different places. How do you've got to have a calendar. You've got to have a person set up to keep
a lot.
To keep dates, and you hope they will take wrestling tickets as the fucking payment because I don't have any money.
Yeah, and who knows if that's the other thing too. Some of these are fly-by-night little companies. You don't know if they're going to pay you. You don't know if you're going to show up. There's going to be 20 people there. You have no fucking idea.
I hope it's just a giant wrestling fan that helps you so that they just come to these shows.
You don't know if they'll have a clean mat or if you're going to get a staph infection when you leave.
Right.
Like, you have no fucking idea what's going on. So in 2002, he's with CZW, PWF, 3PW, which was another ECW knockoff, PWF, CCW, PWF. Jeez, he's at all of these different things here. And he's with a bunch of these goddamn gimmicks, man. Chi Cruz, Rapid Fire Maldonado. What the fuck is that? The hell kind of gimmick is that? Amish Roadkill. That's my favorite gimmick of all time. I've seen that name a lot. And it's just a hilarious.
What would that even be?
I have no idea.
If it gets run over by a fucking horse and carriage, it's a very slow animal.
That's exactly right. You'd have to be. Holy shit. Yeah, and if a person does it, get out of the way. It's a horse. This is 3PW is even working in the ECW arena. So they were really trying to be ECW, but they just weren't ECW. That's how it is. Oh my God, he does a mixed gender match in 2002. The Blue Meanie and Jasmine St. Clair, because they were a couple, and she had to try to do a wrestling promotion. She is the woman who at one time, I believe, had the record for fucking the most guys in a row on camera.
Oh, really?
I believe that's her at that time.
What's her name? Jasmine?
Jasmine St. Clair. Because I remember seeing a thing about the Blue Meanie, and people were talking shit because they were like, oh, your girlfriend takes every dick in the world. And then,
Did she take 1,000?
I don't remember. I have no fucking idea. I didn't see it, but it was.
I don't want to Google that. Never mind. I don't care. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I want my brain clear of that information.
I don't want to see it at all.
No.
Well, they beat Missy Hyatt and the Rockin' Rebel. Missy Hyatt, I don't remember ever being a worker. She was a manager. I don't remember her wrestling ever. So
she took like 550.
550, really?
And then Jasmine took 1,000.
Oh my God! Yes, so Jasmine wins the match. I was going to say that's probably a low ball for Missy Hyatt. I'm not even kidding. Like Missy Hyatt's known for when she did her one shoot interview. They play little games with them, and one of her games was match the cock size to the wrestler, and she would tell you how big this guy's dick was and put all these things together on a dick.
My actual nightmare. That somebody would actually. I don't know. I'm sure she doesn't care.
Yeah.
My point is my nightmare of somebody, being like that's his and being way off.
Well, yeah,
either direction.
They'd show like Too Cold Scorpio. It's like 14 inches, and they're like, "Here's this guy." That's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want to be part of that.
No, I don't either. That sounds bad. So, yeah, I'm looking over all this. I think at this point, him being an ECW original is his main draw of why he gets booked all the time, is that he's an ECW original, and you can put him in the ring with other ECW guys and go, it's an ECW originals match, you know, even though that's not exactly who they're wanting when they say ECW original, you know. So, and this is the time, too, by the way, 94 is when ECW had, or 95 had Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, they had all those workers. Rey Mysterio, the first places he worked in the U.S. was ECW, all those.
And he was amazing.
Oh, yeah, that whole first hour of Nitro back in the day that had all the luchas and all the smaller guys, all those guys were from ECW.
Okay.
So they were mining these fucking. That was the thing too. They'd build up a star and they'd come in. Somebody would pay him.
Okay.
Paulie ended up making a deal with WWF for a while to kind of make him a feeder system, and but they would just sign him from WCW, and you offer a guy $150,000, or do you want to make $25,000?
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Comparatively, it's very tough to compete.
Jesus Christ, what is this? Rockin Rebel defeats C.J. O'Doyle. What's his gimmick? He's Irish.
C.J. O'Doyle.
I'm Irish.
What year was that?
2005.
Okay, so it could have been. Is that a no? I was gonna say it's not even a Billy Madison reference.
No, it's I don't know what it is.
It's too late.
It's too late. I don't know what the hell it is here. So, but then again, it's wrestling. So the wrestling a lot of times is pop culture wise is years behind.
Yeah, good point. They've also got this thing where they give you the name and the gimmick. The name of the gimmick, then in your head you connect it with something, and then they trot out an entirely different thing.
Yes, that happens all the time.
I hate it.
And you're like, what is that?
I don't get it.
How does that even go together? Yeah,
what
I don't
did you
understand
do?
when those two things. There's a lot of them, and then other ones where it's too much on the nose too, where it's those mid-90s WWF characters, Mantar, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, a garbage man, dumb shit like that. Yeah, that's not good. That was Vince's Jobs phase where he was like, blue collar guys. And
I hate that
he's a garbage man and a wrestler.
I hate that the guy that what is it, New Jack. I hate that he ruined mass transit, because I think that's a terrific gimmick. It's a fat bus driver. I wish he hadn't stabbed him so much.
Ralph Cramden bus driver. Yeah, he ruined that guy. He was.
That would have been awesome eventually. If he was just insane and had sharpened teeth or some shit.
That would be great.
That would have been so fun.
Brings a wife to the ring that he constantly threatens to beat up, smack around, send her to the moon.
And then he gets beat for the fucking white knight. It's beautiful.
Oh my, that's fucking funny. Yeah, all of these are a lot of Philly matches. All these little promotions out of Philly and New Jersey, places where he's known, and it's also a place where he can be hired and they don't have to fly him in, which is another thing that helps. That's why a lot of indie wrestlers back then were based in the Northeast, because there's a lot of promotions they could go do and not have to. Because if you're a fly-in, you have to have a name that's worthy of flying in.
And from the West Coast, it's so much hassle to get anywhere on the east side of this country from the West Coast. It's such a pain in the ass.
Oh, huge, big time here. Some of these names: Pinky Sanchez.
Yeah.
Andrew Backlund, is that Bob's son?
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt it. Big Sean Studd? Come on now.
Oh, my God.
There's Big John Studd. He's Big Sean. I wonder if it's his son. Maybe. Who knows? Jason Gotti, like John Gotti. These are all people he's fighting here. Wow, this is the bad gimmicks, man. Bad gimmicks. Ox Hog.
Ox Hog?
Ox with two X's. Hog.
Yeah, and two G's?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
2G, Ox Hog, I guess like Boss Hog. Mark West,
Boss
is that the...
Yeah. Oh, I hope it is. It fucking better be.
I hope somebody pile drove him for his shitty center playing all through the fucking early 90s.
He gets called for a foul every time it matters.
He would. Be like, it's wrestling. There are no fouls. They're like, don't worry, you fouled him.
You get free throws, don't worry.
Trust me, you fouled him. So through all of this, he wrestles all the way up through I'm seeing 2010. It gets thin though. 2007, 2008, there's a lot less matches. I barely see anything for 2009, 2010. I mean, now he's getting older too. He's fucking. He's born in 62. He's 50. Yeah. He's almost 50 at this point. He's
There's not much left.
No, he's living off of ECW original Rockin Rebel. Yeah. It's all he's living off of now. It's not going well for him, as I can see. Baby Huey. Jesus, that's who he's fighting.
What?
Somebody named Baby Huey. All through this, though, CPW, ACW, WOW, Dreams, Lethal Dreams. I don't know, that's a promotion as well. Yeah. CCW, all the way 2016, he's still fighting. He's still wrestling. Yeah. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, still all the way there. He fights, what is this? PWE Clash of Titans 2. He fights with Buff Bagwell. This is interesting. Really? Buff Bagwell, Ed House. Is that Eddie House from the Phoenix Suns and ASU?
A lot of Suns players.
A lot of them. Richie Nightmare, Rockin Rebel, and X-Pac. So we know
I love X-Pac.
Many of these people fight people I've never heard of. But he's on that team with a bunch of people that I've heard of, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Anthrax, that's a good name.
There was a band called Adam Ant. That's
Adam Ant's a guy.
close.
Yeah. So he's Adam Anthrax, which is, I guess, worse.
I guess.
Tougher.
More dangerous.
More dangerous. Yeah, that's good shit. So he's wrestling. The last I see of him wrestling in 2018 is ACW. The last thing I see is May 19th, 2018, ACW Tri-State Title 5-Way Scramble Match. That is a lot.
This man fought till his 60s.
Almost 60. He was 56 years old. Scott Jeffries beat Adam Anthrax, Bobby Kruger, and the Rockin Rebel here to win the title. That's at a place called ACW Can You Handle This? Okay. That is late May 2018. June 1st, 2018. Okay. About 11, 12 days later. I don't know what happened in his house because we'll never know what happened, but he apparently gets in a fight with his wife, Stephanie, here this day. And by the next day, because nothing's found out about it till the next day, Jesus Christ, he shot his wife to death. And then shot himself in the living room.
He did it.
He killed her and killed himself. Once the police arrived, there was other people there because Jesus Christ, man, two 10-year-old children found them.
What?
He did this. I guess they're both 10, or else they really got fucking
real
quick.
Close, yeah.
But that's insane. So they fucking.
So their 10-year-old kids in the house came upstairs or came to wherever they sleep
and found
them in the morning.
Found them in the living room, both dead.
Oh, my God.
Mom shot to death and him blew his brains out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that is, that's really rough here. A neighbor said they were quiet. They kept to themselves, but there was always problems over there. The police were there a lot.
So they've been fighting for years.
The police are always over there, and we'll find out he's all fucked up in the head, too, which obviously doesn't excuse it because he's been doing this for 20 years. Yeah. But the GoFundMe page for their, for the expenses
for the family,
for the kids, too, said her family considered her firstborn leader, the glue, the best friend, the heart of gold, the crafty one, the brain, and most importantly, the best mother of those children that they could ever have. But this guy killed her. So only days earlier, I guess, on May 29th, 2018, at 4:29 a.m.,
Jesus,
he posted. So he's up at 4:30 in the morning. Maybe he's up working out, getting road work in.
Maybe he's still got a day job.
Yeah, he does through all this.
Yeah.
He's got to. He said, days of spending time with the ones who love you and you love them are far and few. Make them count. That's what he posts. And then 48 hours later, he will destroy his whole family and kill himself.
Ruins
and his wife.
all those words that he just typed.
This was along with a happy picture of his wife and children.
Holy.
Yep. So they were, like I said, found by the two 10-year-old children. They were talking about that CTE, they believe, has a big role in this.
Sure.
He had, I guess, revealed that he had already put his name on the list to donate his brain to science. Because he was all fucked up. They said, Sean Waltman, here's X-Pac, he says this, quote, people have heard about the murder-suicide in the Philadelphia area, Rockin Rebel. His name is Chuck Williams. He was an ECW original. I don't know. I know the guy just casually, and he was always nice to me, but you guys, I don't go by, I can only judge him by how he was to me. Bullshit. I watch how people treat others.
Oh,
I like
furious.
That. I fucking really hate when people are like, I don't know, he's always nice to me. Like, okay, but when you found out how shitty he is to other people, do you want to be around someone? Why is he nice to you? And at what point will he stop being nice to you? and treat you like everybody else.
And what he did, it's okay to say that's a really fucked up thing that this guy just did.
Yeah.
He destroyed 2 children's lives. And if he didn't destroy them and completely make it the worst thing, he certainly upended those lives, and their lives are never going to be the same. And he robbed them of their mother. That's crazy to just be like, he was a great guy and I never saw him. Who cares what you never saw?
Yeah. That's what I mean. You didn't see it. Doesn't fucking matter. And he goes on. This is smart because he goes on to say there's ulterior motives for people treating me well sometimes because he's very famous. So wrestlers who aren't very famous are going to kiss his ass because maybe they'll tell a promoter you should put this guy on this show because I liked working with him or something. It's good for you to kiss his ass.
So we've got a friend that's not famous, doesn't do anything in comedy, that just recently made an enormous fucking mistake, and I probably will never talk to that guy again.
Well,
you can
not
take
of that, but
no. Well, I mean, because of that, but it's worse. It's deeper than
yeah. That's what I mean. There's other shit.
But it's scummy to treat people. I don't want that person around me or around my life. That's nuts.
No, that's what I mean, and I that's a big thing you hear too in wrestling. He said it like that because wrestlers always in interviews are like, "Oh, he's always nice to me." That's the way. A lot of wrestlers, unless they're like Jim Cornette or the Honky Tonk Man or certain guys, most wrestlers don't. They just like to kind of not stir the pot with shit like that. They'll go, I don't know, he was always all right to me, or that guy was always okay, or I don't know, cool to me. That's their way of deflecting it. And
I'm not talking about
he's not having it. Yeah,
I don't have to face it.
Exactly. And he's not having it, though. He said, so I watch how they treat others, especially when they don't think I'm paying attention. I'm really so sad by this. Let me read something real quick. An ECW original sent me this. Quote, he wasn't a good guy at all. Stephanie lived in fear for her life all the time.
Yeah.
Quote, Chuck did time in the 90s for holding her hostage in a closet with a gun to her head. His family talked her into not pressing charges. She would try to leave him, and he would always threaten to kill himself. The one time she tried to leave, he called her at her mom's.
So 20 years of terrorizing her.
Yeah, well, he did something worse. When he called it the mom's, quote, he said he was going to kill himself. He lit a firecracker to make him think he just shot himself over the phone.
What the fuck, man?
Just mental torture type shit. He was a bully and a piece of shit. It seems like a lot of people failed this poor woman, and now there are 2 10-year-old kids that don't have a mom, and it's so fucking sad.
There you go.
That's the truth right there. I mean, dude, that's...
Light a firecracker to fuck with people. Dude, you're a dick.
And from what it sounds like he's a guy who treats people above him on the ladder better and people below him worse, which is the sign of terrible character.
Right. It's a sign of somebody that's using other people for their own gain. And that's a sociopath style shit.
Exactly.
That's not okay.
Not great. Shane Douglas said, quote, I didn't read any of the Facebook posts, and I didn't know his wife, but my condolences to the family and obviously the children. The biggest heartbreak of this thing to me is that the kids were in the house, allegedly. From what I'm reading online, the kids were in the house when this happened. He said, Can you imagine if you hear a couple of shots and you find your mother and father just lying there dead? I can't think of anything more horrible for a child. No kid should have to witness something like that, let alone the loss of their mother at the hands of their father. Yeah, it's a lot. So they're talking about, whether it's CTE or not, it doesn't fucking matter. This is a disaster. So obviously this is horrible. I mean, these kids, I can't even begin to.
It's horrific.
To think about that. I mean, Jesus, this poor lady. I mean, all these people. I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy. All of them. But not nearly as bad.
Oh, Jesus.
Actually, I feel worse for them. But for the gimmick, we'll say it.
Yeah.
For the gimmick, we'll say it. Not nearly as bad as I feel for Charles Williams, umpire. He was an umpire here from 78 to 99 in the National League of the Major League Baseball.
21 years.
Yes,
Look at that.
He was the 4th black umpire to be a full-time umpire.
Fuck yeah.
And he became the first black umpire of the Major League All-Star game. There.
Awesome.
And also the first to work a World Series.
He's fucking good at it.
He's good at it. Charles Williams, soccer player, an English professional footballer who was the first black player in Britain, one of the first black players in British football after the Second World War, and later became Britain's first well-known Black stand-up comedian.
Is that right?
He's a fucking comic. Yep, guy's a comic. So
Poor
another
bastard.
guy there. He died in 2000 something. Is he dead? Yeah, he died in 2006. So there you go. Charles Williams. He works for, what is this? I don't even know where he works. Electronic Health Network. Passionate advocate and entrepreneur for small business and protecting your health information.
Yeah.
Charles Williams, Vice President, Digital Transformation, Digital Strategy at Lumen Technologies here in Atlanta. Here's another guy, not a Charles Williams, a Donnie Martin, but he's a wrestler that goes by the Rockin Rebel.
Why would he do that?
I don't know.
Have you no Google, sir?
Well, it's in 1998. There's a picture of him. Look at this, by the way. Let me turn this monitor to you. Look at this fucking guy.
What the fuck?
He looks like a dipshit, and he looks like he's about 15 years out of date too.
Yeah, he looks like his skin is clammy.
Donnie Martin, the Rockin Rebel on TCI Cable's TV3, has wrestled with the WCW and would like to get into professional wrestling full time.
He's got dreams.
Donnie Martin, known as the Rockin Rebel on TCI, has wrestled blah, 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 but he's so recognizable to local wrestling fans, he doesn't want to take away from the WCW show, he said. He literally said that. He said that, listen to this.
I'm too much of a star.
If I go to WCW, I'll just drown out the stars. He said, this is in the fucking newspaper, quote, I used to go to matches, but the last time I did, the crowd started chanting Rebel, Rebel, and I had to back off. I don't want to take anything away from the guys.
He means by being in the stands to watch?
He said he came to the stands. This guy. You wouldn't recognize this guy if you in a fucking crowd of auto mechanics. Are you kidding me? Never. He said he went there, wasn't ringside, wasn't managing, just went to sit in the crowd.
Regular ass ticket.
There's, there was like Kevin Hall and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall are in the ring, fucking fighting like Sting and Macho Man, and the crowd
Hollywood Hulk Hogan
lost
is
interest.
Here.
Nope, lost interest in all that. Nobody cares about that. No, it's one of those really good like Benoit Guerrero fucking. No, not looking at that. That's the Rebel.
The man's just in a Michael Jackson wig. It's
so stupid. I don't want to take anything away from the guys. He's 38 years old, this guy. He said he's been wrestling since he was 29, wearing a Confederate jacket, vest, and his trademark as his trademark. He wrestles across the Southeast for Southeastern Pro Wrestling, and tapes of the matches are played locally over TCI Cable on Saturdays. His next area appearance is at the Doster Community Center in Prattville. He said it's all in good fun, meaning his Confederate garb. All the kids love it, black and white. Yeah, that's.
I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they
can't get enough of it.
You can't get enough of it. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Fucking idiot.
He said he was really small in the beginning when he first started wrestling. Quote, people didn't think I'd make it. Unless his next line is, and they were right as fucking rain, because here I am.
And they nailed it.
He said a friend suggested he use the name Rebel, but he said that, so he went with it. He said he's 5'10", 225. Again, those are...
giant man.
And he describes his wrestling persona as a good guy with an attitude. Very edgy. Yeah. Jesus Christ, man. He says about 6 years ago, this is from the article, about 6 years ago, he wrestled, although unsuccessfully, in matches against the Road Warriors, Midnight Express, and Doom. Yes, you're a TV job guy, that's called.
Right, yeah.
He said, I got in the ring and it didn't last long. He said he'd like to be hired by WCW or the WWF, and he has sent them tapes of his matches, and when they got done laughing at him, he said, until he makes it to the big time, he's running his own vending machine business called Donnie's Vending.
Sell those bear claws, sir.
And keeps in shape by jogging and working in his yard.
Just sell fucking Doritos to the fucking receptionist and shut up.
This is 98. You're gonna The Rock is the biggest thing in the world. Stone Cold Steve, you're gonna be that right now?
Yeah,
no.
Right.
You're gonna drop your vending. Somebody get my quarters while I go do this. What are you fucking kidding me? He's married, poor woman, and has 2 sons, 2 stepdaughters, 5 dogs, and a pet pig. Legally blind since an illness when he was 3 months old. He wears dark glasses to protect his sensitive eyes.
He's got cataracts.
In a fucking arena, they have bright lights. And when you're on your back, which you certainly will be anytime you wrestle, sir, you're going to be looking at those lights, and it's going to hurt you. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade. So, great education, wonderful
Very
career.
useful. Yeah.
And he's there. So
he's got a fucking disability, for Christ's sake.
He's blind.
Yeah.
Legally. And not like they said Stan Hansen was blind. He didn't have his glasses.
Right,
This guy's fucking light sensitive, for Christ's sake.
He can't drive at night, probably.
No.
If he walks down the street, that blinking and noise from the crosswalk is for him.
That's for him. Yeah. There's Braille on the thing for him.
Yeah. Those bumpy things at the entryway of a ramp is because he can't see it.
So they said, quote, he said, although most people think wrestling is mostly faked, he says.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
He says, quote, I take it to heart. Wrestling is sports entertainment. It's not fake if you get into it. It's got a story to tell. You've got to be in shape. There's a lot of competition and there's a lot of entertainment.
Right.
Yes, true. That's all true. Yes, there's nothing fake about being slammed on a mat. That hurts.
Right. Yeah.
The fake part is who wins. That's the fake part.
Right.
That's the only part that's fake, honestly.
The fake part is the storyline. Everything else is real.
Everything, it's just who wins and loses. Everything else is pretty fucking real, honestly. You get in there, this guy has to climb up a top rope. He falls, it crashes loud, it hurts. It's all real except for the ending, I guess. He says that people like to be, it's a form of release. They like to be entertained. He said, quote, they like to holler and scream. If something's been bothering them, they get to holler for the good guy or the bad guy. So, shocker, that guy never went anywhere. There's another Charles Williams, one more, who is very close to our Charles Williams here. This is the quote, the jury is deciding whether Charles Williams was the gunman in Burlington City. Apparently, somebody entered the McDonald's on Route 130 in Burlington City just before midnight, March 7th, 1992, ordered a cheeseburger and fries, sat down, ate them, waited as the other customers left, and then pulled a gun on the night manager, ordered him to empty the money from the cash registers and the safe and all that. Then the gunman forced the manager and his fellow employees to lie face down in the drive-thru.
Oh, no.
Then shot them point-blank range.
Yep.
Executed them.
Yep.
One
what
person,
year was that?
92.
Yep.
The third person got away, the third employee. As he was shooting the other two, he got up and ran for his fucking life and got away.
Wow.
So his lawyer, though, the guy who's accused of it is Charles Williams.
Yeah.
And they say Charles Williams was not in the Burlington City McDonald's on March 8th, 1992. That's his whole defense.
That's the story. I
wasn't there. Wasn't me.
Okay.
Another guy. Charles Williams, very common name, everybody. Have you checked the wrestler? Have you checked the wrestler? So I guess they're talking about his ears are different than the composite picture.
Okay.
His lawyer says, look at Charles Williams' ears. Look at the other aspects of the picture that don't match Charles Williams. His ears the person didn't notice his ears as he was running for his life after having two people shot while he had brain on his clothes.
Unless they're cauliflower ear and they stand out like that, then you don't, what are you talking about? They look different.
It's fucking ridiculous. So, here's some other stuff about our Charles Williams, Rockin Rebel here. Talking about, this was on dipshit Vince Russo's podcast here. God damn it, he's annoying. He's the only guy who can make me not be able to stand an Italian guy from New York, where I'm like, oh, God, just shut the fuck up already.
What show did he used to be on where it was him, Vince, and somebody, or Russo and somebody? Somebody in Russo? I don't know. He was on a morning show with somebody.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I don't think so.
I believe so.
No. That's you're talking about the New York Sports Radio show.
Oh, maybe.
You're talking about that's Mike and the
Mad Dog and Russo. You're right. Yeah. Mad Dog and Russo.
He's WFAN guy for 25 years. No. This is the guy who was in charge of the writing for WWF, quote unquote, writing during the Attitude Era, and then WCW bought him basically, and then he tanked that and drove it into the ground, and then has pretty much just been a in and out of every promotion since then, taking money and not really being all that good at booking. And
yeah,
I don't know. That's just my opinion on the guy, but he talks a lot. He's a real asshole. He's the guy, by the way, whether you like or hate Jim Cornette, he's the guy who Jim Cornette wants to murder and all the time and fucking hates
really?
him. He's that guy. Yeah, he's his anti-everything. He hates him, which he goes too far with it, and also somewhere in the middle is a strange. Vince Russo's a douchebag and nobody really likes him. There. That's fine. Right. You don't have to murder him. It's one of those things. So on his podcast in 2018, he's got one. I don't even know if it's still around, but in 2018, on the June 7th edition, which was the week this happened, it's called Castrating the Marks. That's a very nice. It's co-hosted by Noel Harlow Lagrasso, who is, I guess, married now to Big Vito, the wrestler, who was around forever, an ECW guy. So they're kind of getting into this, talking about this. I guess they're mad because Dave Meltzer, who's the kind of a wrestling quote-unquote journalist, was talking about this, and it's so they're trying to get into who did what here. This Vince talks to the Noel and says, these weren't just acquaintances. You had a history with this family. You guys had a very tight-knit community of wrestlers, because she said she was friends with his wife. Oh. They were all ECW people back in the day, the Big Vito and Rebel. So they said, you got to explain so people don't make the assumption that you met the guy at a wrestling show. And she says, no. And he says, give me some background of the relationship. She said, yeah, I'm not trying to be exploitive, because really what I want to do is I want people to remember my friend Stephanie, because everybody's focused on Rockin Rebel because he's a wrestler. People knew him from ECW. People knew him from this or that, and it's sensational. So people are sharing his picture and sharing his stories, but nobody's sharing anything about Stephanie. Yeah. She said, I met Chuck and Stephanie when I was 19 years old. I worked at a district court where one of the constables was a wrestler. I was married at the time. Previously, I was younger. So we went to the wrestling show, and I made friends with both of them, and I had gotten involved in wrestling. So I've known them since I was 19, and I'm on the latter end of 30, so that's how long I've known these two. So she says, Vito's known them almost as long as I have. We spend holidays together. Their kids call us aunt and uncle. Oh, my. That's terrible for the poor kids, man. He didn't have a lot of family. His parents passed away. So we'd have Christmas Eve, and we used to have what we'd call wrestle giving, where all the community of wrestlers would come together and we'd all bring food. That's pretty rad. That's cool. That's how tight we all were. And she said it was about a year ago, things started getting a little strange with him, meaning Charles. Yeah. He started acting very strange. It had been going on where they had confrontations. I'd get a phone call at 3:00 in the morning, and she would be upset and crying and yelling. And then Vito would have to call him and calm him down. Really? So for probably the better part of 3 years, we kept them from fighting. Jesus, that's brutal, man.
It's a terrible job to have.
And other people in this little group did the same, but it was mainly Vito and myself. So Vito asked Rebel to go and get checked for CTE. And I know sometimes, and Vince jumps in because he always interrupts people. You were also telling me, Noel, whatever it is. I know this other guy that's there knows a bit about this because he's a worker, but I mean, the guy had like handshakes, and stuff like that, meaning his hands were shaking. God, he's such a terrible man at speaking, Vince Russo. Really? Yeah. She said, yeah, it got pretty bad where his hands were shaking. He worked as a landscaper during the week. There you go. That's his day job, where he owned a business. He would go to a job, and she said he would forget where he was going. He'd call and go, where am I going again? It wasn't the grocery store. It was a job.
This is his job.
And he would call her and not know where he was in his hometown.
I don't even know where I'm at.
Where he lived. She said, he started having major issues. And see, here's people that we're close to. And unless you're sitting here and watching it, somebody's telling you, you don't notice or you don't know that there's something wrong with somebody. You kind of have to know what you're looking for. And obviously Vito is an advocate for CTE awareness. So he noticed these problems with the temper and getting lost and shaking. And he said, Chuck, let me take you to my doctor. He's like, let me take you. They did this brain mapping with me. I found out how many concussions I had. I'm learning to treat things. He's like, come with me. He says, I'll take you. I'll drive you. I'll take you for a beer after. Let's go. But he wouldn't do it. He was in denial.
He didn't want to know.
Yeah, he'd say, oh, I'm fine, or I'm just tired, or I've been working a lot, or I was, whatever. So meanwhile, I was trying to tell her, meaning Stephanie, hey, listen, together, why don't you and I go talk to Chuck? And she was trying to get him to go. He went to therapy for a few times just to talk, but he wouldn't go regularly. He was terrified something was wrong with him, terrified. so he wouldn't go and get checked out. And to anybody that's a worker or in a contact sport, man, you go to your neurologist, please, please, please go to your neurologist before something like this happens.
Yeah.
It's awful, it's terrible, and my husband's come on many times and talked about come on many, and for some reason my brain saw come on me, and I was like, my husband's come on me many times? Is that what you're saying during this? No. My husband's come on many times and talked about what he goes through with CTE and with post-concussion syndrome, and it's honestly terrible. Terrible. Yeah. And so, yeah, they talk about that. She said, it happens all the time. People lose it. They said that Vito had problems, but he treats it. They said Chuck wouldn't treat it. He wouldn't take medication. He wouldn't go to the doctor. He just couldn't consign himself, but there was something wrong in his brain. Plus, he was still working. That's why. He's not supposed to be, and he knows that if he goes to do that, and he wants to wrestle still. So they said about a year ago, he started acting very, very strange. It got worse. He started pushing his group of friends away. I mean, there's a good group of people who have known each other more than 15 years, did holidays, vacations, everything together. We all did everything together, and we always knew Chuck was a little brash or he'd have like a bad attitude sometimes, but he was the first one, if you were in trouble, to be there. When I had my stroke, he told me he was my brother to get me to the ICU to see if he told me he was my brother to get me to the ICU to see if he was okay with his wife. They were the first one, so it's not like you can look at somebody and go, you were a bad person, you did this bad thing. Oh, my God, it's the worst thing I could think of. But a year ago, she told me he was going to do this. A year ago, and I begged her to leave, begged her. I said, come to my house and stay with me. I have the room here. I'm an empty nester. My kid's in college, like my other kids away from school. Come take the kids and move here. She has twins, a boy and a girl. There you go. Yep. Mm-hmm. And she says, I can't. He'll find me, and if he finds me, he'll kill me.
That's a lady who is just struggling.
Terrified.
Struggling with guilt about how she did nothing or was unable. Lady, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything.
You can offer a way out, but you can't force someone to do this. You can't.
No.
If he finds me, he'll kill me is a terrible place for this poor woman to be in.
Yeah.
And I said, there's got to be a way to get you out. I offered to buy video cameras, the little ones to put in her house, because she would call the police when he would get violent. Yeah. And then he would do something like scratch himself or whatever. So when the police came, he would go, well, she hit me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then that way they would go, well, we have to take both of you in because he says you hit her. And then she would go, no, no, no. And then that's how that goes. She didn't want her kids to go to foster care or to be taken away because they both got put in jail for domestic assault, which is So.
Well, now what? Where are they now?
Yeah, that's the thing.
What the fuck?
So, which is a major, major problem and flaw in the way we do things, quite honestly. So they wouldn't believe, they wouldn't do anything, honestly. They just kept coming to the house over and over and over again. It kind of fell on Vito and I to, get them to calm down. I can't tell you how many times Vito drove over there. He would be in a meeting and he would leave and go over there and try to calm him down, or, leave here or leave the hospital when I was in the hospital, and I'd go over there to calm him down. I mean, this went on for years. After I had the stroke, Vito said, we just can't keep doing this. Our lives are getting extraordinarily complicated and difficult. Yeah, and then they were getting 3 a.m. phone calls. Mm-hmm. She said, I couldn't do it anymore. But she was telling me he was going to do it. And she knew, she told me where her papers were. She told me to make sure her children were taken care of. This week, her sister messaged me and said, Stephanie said you will always have her back and you understand. I need to know, did she want buried? Did she want cremated? They didn't know. I had to make those decisions this week. I don't even want to think about it. I'm sick thinking about it. She just didn't tell anybody, and we were the ones that knew, but the police had been there dozens and dozens of times, and they just drove away, and they didn't do anything.
What is she?
Nothing. Okay. This is brutal.
At the end of the day, you've got grown-ass adults that need to make mature decisions. And this is a cyclical cycle of violence that's not stopping. It's not necessarily on the cops. I mean, granted, there's probably something the cops could have done in terms of for keeping this from happening right now. You know what I mean? At least impeding it. But this was on a collision course to happen, and nobody was going to be able to do anything.
No, that's no.
And he's not going to stop even because of the kids, because clearly, I mean, he did it with them in the fucking house.
Fuck, man. Yeah, they're not going to be with Jesus Christ.
So helpless.
So they go on to talk about Dave Meltzer, but they really talk a lot of shit about Rob Feinstein, who Rob Feinstein used to run RF Video, which did all the shoot interviews back in the day, and they also did the taping of like the fan cams for the ECW shows and sold them. Okay. So he was always around. He got chokeslammed by 911 one time. He also made a special appearance on To Catch a Predator.
Oh.
Where, there's a video out there.
Where he caught a predator?
No.
No.
Is the guy who was allegedly talking to a younger person on the video and showed up for some young boy. Yep. I don't think charges ended up getting filed, but you can see it. It's definitely not good.
What's his name?
Not good. Rob Feinstein.
Uh-huh.
And or Feinstein. So you can. If you look up him RF Video To Catch a Predator, it'll come up. You'll get it there. So they're talking about how he tried to capitalize on this. Like he says, he tries to capitalize on everything. So it's interesting here. They talk about whenever somebody dies, he starts whipping out 8x10s and selling them, which is crazy. And they also talk a little bit of shit about Dave Meltzer here as well, which, I mean, Meltzer's a very polarizing figure. Half the people in wrestling think he's smart and he knows what he's talking about, and the other half hate his guts and fucking think he's the worst person in the world. So, they go on to talk a little bit more about CTE and things like that because I guess Meltzer said Vito lied about Benoit's. It's a long story, so It doesn't matter. The point is that obviously Rebel had some problems here.
Yeah.
And
the cycle was never going to be broken. They were just going to continue this path of self-destruction.
She didn't fucking leave, so it's horrible. And she couldn't. She felt like she was going to be murdered if she left, and then she ends up being murdered to be there, so it's terrible. June 21st, 2018, they announced that his brain will be donated for CTE research. So at least something comes out of it here. I guess identified by Pennsylvania police as having shot his wife and killed himself. The attorney for the family announced that his brain tissue is being studied for CTE. Out of this immense tragedy, the family hopes to find some answers. I think you're going to find some fucking answers here. And they're really comparing it with Chris Benoit a lot, but obviously no one, he wasn't as popular as Chris Benoit. So they're talking about this Kairos law currently represents other families of wrestlers identified as having CTE. Balls Mahoney, who used to take chair shots left and right. Axel Rotten, who would get beat with barbed wire baseball bats. Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Mr. Fuji, all these guys. So, the lawsuit was filed against WWE, and I think it got shipped. I think it got fucking...
sent back.
Yeah. Now, according to CageMatch.com, which they do like wrestling, kind of have like lists of all their matches and promotions and titles, kind of like a wrestling IMDb. Type of deal here. They have Rockin Rebel here as the 41st worst rated wrestler listed on their website. He's got a 1.48.
There's only 40
rating.
worse than him.
I mean, and there's wrestlers who are way worse than him. That a lot of that comes from the fact that he killed his wife. If he didn't kill his wife, he'd
he dropped several rankings post the murder.
People made sure to go in there and give him a bad ranking just because he did that. So I feel like that's. Plus, he was not the best guy, but he wasn't he was a whatever.
He's a champion at one point. Yeah,
he's an average worker. I mean, an average, nothing spectacular, nothing great. But I mean,
but you murdered your wife, and who gives a shit?
It kind of goes out the window at that point. So that is the Rockin Rebel, and crazy fucking story. And also we mixed in kind of ECW fun in there because, like I said, there's not a lot on Rockin Rebel. But what he did was so bad, we can't just not talk about it. Can't just not bring him up ever. Not have an episode on it. So
what a
holy
fascinating
shit
story.
If you get hit in the head a lot, get that checked out.
Isn't that amazing that your head can cause so many things to go wrong?
It's fucking terrifying. Yeah.
It's weird.
Terrifying for someone who averages about 3 concussions a year like I do.
It's weird that your central computer, if it gets shaken around and beaten, that bad things can happen.
Yeah.
It's fucking baffling.
Take your laptop, walk out your front door, and just throw it onto your driveway.
Frisbee that motherfucker.
Don't spike it. Just toss it lightly onto the driveway.
Just give it
and see
some
if it works
soft
great
air.
afterwards. That's your brain when it gets hit. See how
wild,
it goes.
man.
It is wild. It's
and for all this, this is your brain on drugs shit with eggs in the 80s on the frying pan. Who knew that it was like fucking everything?
Yeah. Be careful with your brain.
Yeah.
Should have said.
Forget the drugs. Just fucking anything. Just
this is your brain. Don't crack it open and put it in the pan to begin with. How about that? We could save ourselves a lot of trouble.
Don't whack your head. Be careful.
That helps a lot. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So there you go. If you like that show, tell the world about it. Tell your friends about it. Give us 5 stars. Do it all because, damn it, we work hard on crime and sports and we want people to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it helps a lot. Thank you for doing that. Also, listen to our other shows for sure. Small Town Murder and Your Stupid Opinions, our brand new show. And it's hilarious where we make fun of opinions from all over the internet, making fun of bad reviews. And trust us, it's fucking funny. Check that out for sure. You definitely want to head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. You want to check out buy tickets for live shows.
Yeah.
Also, tickets for the virtual live show for Small Town Murder, October the 26th. It's also available for a week after that. It's a Halloween spectacular. We're going to dress up. It's going to be great. shutupandgivememurder.com/virtual live is where you get those tickets and everything else when you're on there. You certainly want to follow us on social media.
Right.
At Crime and Sports on Facebook and Twitter, at Small Town Murder on Instagram and Threads or whatever that is. So get on there, check us out, do everything like that, hang out with us.
Oh boy, what else do they want?
.com/crimeinsports. That's where the good stuff is. More good stuff, we should say. But that's amazing. We have that. Anybody $5 a month or above, a mere cup of coffee will get you so much stuff. A whole big back catalog of like 200 episodes of bonus episodes. That's the only place they've ever been available. And you also get new ones every other week. This week, which you're going to get for Crime and Sports, which you'll obviously have access to, we are going to talk about the TV show Pros vs. Joes.
Wow.
And we are going to laugh at fucking... We're going to laugh at a warehouse worker who thinks he can tackle Ricky Williams or some dipshit who thinks he can rebound against Dennis Rodman. It's hilarious, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about Sarah Boone, who has yet to go to trial, so we'll call her the alleged suitcase killer. But it is not alleged. She definitely zipped her boyfriend in a suitcase. Her intent is the only thing that's alleged.
There it is. Yeah, that's the only thing that they have on trial.
And her interrogation is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen in my life, and we'll go through it. It's so the cops are such morons in this thing. It's amazing. They're the worst at this ever. You and I could have went in there and done a way better murder interrogation. I'm not even shitting you. Terrible.
Yeah, so much so that we'll talk. Look, she didn't even know. She had no fucking idea what was happening because
no one did.
No.
It's crazy. Patreon.com/crime-and-sports. And you'll get a shout out when, Jimmy?
Right now.
Right now. Jimmy, hit me with the names of the people who would never, ever beat our heads in with chairs until we had such bad CTE that we murdered our wives and had our children find the corpses. Jimmy, hit me with that list right now.
This week's executive producers are Kyle Norweg, Diane Helmendaler, Helen McKenzie, Thomas Bollinger, and Laura Forgy. Thank you all so much for being a part of this.
Thank you.
You're
awesome
heroes.
People.
Other producers this week are Steve Dipshitiot. He's a wrestling fan extraordinaire. That's
all right. This is an episode for you.
Haas Funk, the best Funk. Peyton Meadows, Hank's Donut World. I don't know what that is a reference to. Do you
Hank's
know?
Donut World is Overboard. That is where... That's where in kayfabe we'll stick with the wrestling from Crime and Sports list this week, but that is where he told Goldie Hawn they met.
Oh, okay.
Remember Hank's Donut World? He used to hang out there every night when you were in the Navy.
I was in the Navy?
I was in the armed forces.
You got to remember, you were in the Navy.
You were in the Navy. Oh, okay.
Tiffany Gonzalez, happy birthday, Tiff. It's good to see your name. I love you so much.
To you. Hell yeah.
Janice Hill, Trey Volcanar, Harry Dangleberry, Biscuit Lacoste maybe, Pam Allen, Alex Esquivel, Sky Zambrana, Casey Bolos, Adam Polchow, Harry Chazen, Ray Brower maybe, Needy Sharma, Bryson Morris, Gina Marie, Cody Alcoin, Jerkface Gremlin, Green Mary Acres. I don't know if that's real. If that's a place, it might be. It might be a cemetery. We don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Dana Barry, Annie with no last name. Jacob LDG, Krista Meyer, Cody Stumpages, Isa Aliyamama. All right.
What the hell?
Aliyamama. She said it. Issa
oh my God!
ML, the letters M and L. Zoe Keller, Danielle Delp, I think. Amy Benz, Queefy Sharts. That's disgusting. Sabrina Rennie, Paige Hollander, Felicia Greider, MM. The letters, both letters brought you this show. Gina Ann, Alfie.
Regular Sesame Street today.
Alfie Simchich. Kristen Baggett, Bagot, Ro Jogan, Penny Tration, oh, you son of a bitch, Stephanie Wood, Sam Stankiewicz, Cameron Carpenter, The Forest Goat, Jacob Vest, Melanie Brown, Clay Moore, Fat Little Gringo. All right, now we're having fun with it. Marky Burcham, Allison Bridges, Shannon Flaherty, Jamie Erkham Brock, David Palmer, Sean Howard, Bridget West, Katie Tritch, Brandon Withrow, Kate Sander, Christopher Cooper, Steve with no last name, Bonnie Whitener, Ginta or Ginta, probably Ginta, Sam Finn, Sammy Finn, Angel and Nick Bedrosian. All right. Kristen Stone, Mike Dainzer, Jane Melkinoff. I don't know. All right. Aaron Anderson.
Sounds dirty, but I'm not sure.
I'm going to go with probably the name. Cody Brannon, Gina Wolfenkuhler.
Cool name.
Wolf Cool. That's what it is, I think.
Okay.
God damn it. David Benson, Darcy Ellis, Sarah Goins. Hey, Sarah. David Boyle, Arsenic Catnip. Oh, boy. Adrian R. Jonathan, don't ever fucking do it. I'm not an advocate for hurting animals. All right. Jonathan.
No, don't do that.
No last name. Nathan.
Sounds bad.
It's terrible. Ferreira. Rachel Combs.
Is there anybody out
Christian.
there going, hurt animals? Fuck them.
Don't you do it.
Hope
not. You'll go to jail. Star Rame, Lemon Tree. Christy Black, Kelsey with a K, Meredith Zolte, Max Demau, Keener with no last name, Grace, Annabelle Oatway, Sean Gelzanes, Elena Johnson, Zeke Duty. All right, Tara Katstever, Lakota Kirst, maybe, Cece Kuhl, Cool, Suzanne Sutton, Olivia Crutcher. All right, Teeny Christini, Rebecca Connors, Tyler Schwebel, Zarin Walk, Nicholas Wright, Dylan Ryan, Karen Schumacher, Laura Sue, William Fitch, Anna Marie Ars Navarro Perez.
Is that one name?
I really wandered through that one.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell does that happen?
That's a handle, Anna Marie. Brittany Bauman, Mandy with no last name, Doug Brown, Patrick Pickett, Ryan Mainers, Janet Neat, Dina Craiglow, Carla Mead, Devin Shue, Cass with no last name, Honey Hudson, Caitlin, Kalin with no last name, Lisa Young, Amanda Ralakaitis, Shit, that's not easy. Whitney with no last name, Ruth Bohm, Hunter, Anthony Smith, Mike Kellogg, got that Kellogg's money, Young David, Car Sinner. All right, Becca Mouse. Yeah, he does. He's a real sinner. Oh, boy. Don't get in the car with that man. Kim Burton, Corey Allen, Melissa with no last name, Derpy D, Devin Roquette, Susan Joy, Aaron Williams, Michelle Ross, Kelly Kissick, Kat Cummings, Chris Harris, Michael Van Tassel, Katie Kerwood, Jason Edward Hensley, Elisa Ashley Dandridge, Christian McCann, Trisha Brugman, Angela Thomas, Gemini Heather, Jason Fish, Adriana Tinginero, Tina Gero, Alana Maxwell, I got real Spanish on you. Amy Broussard, Michael Horton, Ashley Stark, Liz Hoover, Antonio Madrigal, Jill Hood, Big Sexy 74, because there's 73 others. I don't want you to get mixed up. Max, Mark Proctor, Justine with no last name, Grisp with no last name, Brett Sawyer, Bubba Snotterly, Marie Blanche Gillette, Austin Davis, Tim Morgan, John Williams, Judy Bittner, Mikey T, Jordan with no last name, and every one of our goddamn producers. You're fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for all that you do for us. We cannot thank you enough. Honestly, you've changed our lives, and we appreciate the shit out of it. So thank you for doing that. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for doing everything. You want to find us on social media, shutupandgivememurder.com. It's got links to everything. Do that. Keep hanging out with us. Watch your brain damage. Don't kill your wife or wives, and have your children find your corpses. That's bad. Yeah. We've decided that this week that is not crime and sports approved behavior. So
it's not good.
Keep doing that and keep coming back and hanging out with us. And live from the Crime and Sports Studios, we will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer.
I can really show you how to make some money.
And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.